David, we went to the launch of Nissan LEAF not very long ago.
Yeah, which was an interesting car, but I think, weren't you issued a challenge?
I was. The Osher Günsberg, can I use it for a week without charging? Challenge. Nissan LEAF. So at that challenge, you'll remember that Osher and I had a chat after the presentation where he said that he's on his third Nissan LEAF and he uses it all week with only one charge. And I said, no, mate, it can't be done. Can't be done, I said. Osh, I said, because that's what I call him when I talk to him. Osh, I said, it can't be done.
It depends on where you're doing and what you're doing, but it is not as limited as many people think.
I'm now in Coles and I finally found the e-brake button. And now I'm getting along at a cracking pace. What e-pedal allows me to do is to drive the car just on one pedal, just on the accelerator. So I've come to a stop and all I've done is take my foot off the accelerator. And I'm at 93% with 276 kilometres to go. I put it in eco mode to see if I can get a little bit of extra distance. David, ask me how many kilometres I've got left on my Nissan LEAF.
Alan, how many kilometres have you got left on your Nissan LEAF?
I have 180 kilometres left, which means that I've used almost a third of my range-ish, roughly. And I think that is exceptionally good. After a week, I picked it up and it had 280 or thereabouts, 270. And I used it mostly in e-pedal mode, not that that makes much of a difference to the regenerative charging. And I didn't use the air conditioning much because it's a little bit nippy still, it's a bit fresh. Do you know what? I reckon I could run it for another week without charging, perhaps two. And of course, since the launch, the bi-directional charging they told us was coming is here.
They're trialling it in Canberra now.
Yeah. Considering that this is around $50,000 and it's the world's most popular electric vehicle, and the reason for that is there's very few electric vehicles for this price. Sure, it's small, but the problem with electric cars is not the electric motor, it's the batteries. That's the most expensive part.
On the farm, a person may well be able to take their ute out and run their electric chainsaw, easy to run, out on the farm.
Well, they've got one of these as an emergency vehicle to that you can plug things into, emergency lights and so forth, because this car would run my house for 6.5 days based on my electricity bill. But David, the important thing is that your car sits for 90 to 95% of the time idle. In fact, if everybody had a Nissan LEAF or at least an electric car with bi-directional charging, we would have a giant South Australia battery right here in New South Wales. Sure, you can charge in shopping centres, you could charge, I was talking to the Lord Mayor of Sydney the other day, there's very likely to be in the very near future charging along the side of footpaths like we've got here. That means you'd be able to stop, plug your car in, and the network with 25,000 cars plugged in and around Sydney, or 50,000 cars plugged in around Sydney, could use that to level out Sydney's grid.
Our attitudes will develop, our behaviour change, will get used to things, and technology will get better.
You mentioned a good point. I found myself actually considering to try and extend my range just a little bit. I found myself thinking, yeah, do you know what, I'm going to walk to the shop and use my granny cart. I'd buy one of these with my own money, but probably more if I lived in a house where I could take advantage of the bi-directional charging. I can't actually take advantage of it now, but you could at your place. You could put one of these chargers in at your place, go in, cover your roof with solar cells. You could get your power cheap, charge your car, whether it's from the grid or from your solar cells, and then you could use it at night. This is brilliant. I really didn't think I'd get to love this as much as I do. I really, really like it a lot. And as I said, you can charge this from green power, so it's being charged from little bits of Brit Eklund as opposed to little bits of dinosaur. And that has got to mean a better future for our children and our children's children.
It's a little unusual when you drive it. It's got very strong regenerative braking, but...
Even stronger with the e-pedal.
Yeah, but that merely means you adjust what you do. If you test this for half an hour at a dealer, you might feel uncomfortable. If you get used to it, we will evolve into using these types of cars in a much more efficient way.
Probably one of the best innovations of the last 12 months with companies like Nissan and Toyota, Lexus and so forth, is they're all now using Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But anyway, Osh, I did it. I ran it for a week. I could run it for another week, possibly 2 with a bit of judicious use. And remember, this car could power your house. And because we're constantly evolving, who knows where we're going to finish up.
The point about pollution is important too, not even from a global sense. That's another issue, and by all means you can argue that, but from a local sense. If you don't believe in global warming, we ought to be rushing more to electric vehicles, because you don't care how they get charged, but they definitely reduce local pollution.
That's a great thought. And on that thought, as all things...
That's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him. And I think if you look just here, you'll see a little dot. Hit the dot to subscribe, but also leave a comment and hit like.